Hello and welcome to Severe Weather Outlooks. It's Saturday, getting close to the end of June. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. We have severe weather areas still pretty active, including a level 3 today, as you see on the screen. We'll focus in on that in a second here. But there's also a level 2 area out here in North Carolina. And the level 3 area affects mostly North Dakota, but we'll take a zoomed in look at that here. And so we're talking about Dickinson and Williston and Minot, almost Bismarck in that level 3. And we'll break down exactly what type of severe weather this is going to be. But we also have a pretty large area of just any type of severe weather. That would be the green and the yellow included in that. And this is just categorical. So when you see this, it just means what kind of coverage and intensity, generally speaking, are we going to get of any severe weather type? So we're right in the middle of the scale. 4s and 5s are pretty rare, but they have happened several times this year. The tornado risk is divided into two. There's a small little risk down here around Nashville, 2% risk. Then there's a pretty large 2% risk from Nebraska to Canada. And then if we were to zoom in a little bit more, you would see there's actually a 5% risk right in the center of that enhanced risk area. So at least a component of this is tornado related. 5% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of a point. NATOcast agrees with the 5% assessment, puts it just about exactly where SPC has put it. Also enhances this area around central Tennessee a lot more than the SPC Storm Prediction Center has done. So just keep that in mind around the Nashville area today. And at one point they had painted that back into Missouri, but I don't see much evidence today that southern Missouri, northern Arkansas is going to get anything close to that. Rain, yes. Severe weather, not so much. On the severe wind risk side for today, we do have that area out here around North Carolina, and primarily that is why there's a slight risk in effect there. But your eye immediately goes to the northern plains here, and zooming in on that, the wind risk is actually up to level 2. And I apologize again. I guess I converted part of these over and a part of them not. So I have, let me explain this. So the 30% risk, which is the red, is a 30% chance of a severe wind gust within 25 miles. That covers that enhanced area. Then these black hatched areas are intensity estimates by the Storm Prediction Center. So we have a large, large area here of intensity 1. And it just breaks down the probabilities of where they likely expect wind gusts, basically. And then what I was saying is there's actually a core right here in southwest North Dakota that is at the level 2 intensity. And what I was saying is I had converted these to miles per hour for convenience for everyone, but I forgot. I did actually convert this, but I forgot to move the graphic, so sorry. Anyway, so what this is saying is that if you look at wind intensity, in this center area here, about 77% chance that it's going to be within the 59 to 74 mile per hour wind gust area. But 21 plus 2, what's that? 23%? But about 23% chance, or about a 1/4 chance, that these could get the hurricane force 75 miles per hour or greater in that part of the world. There is a hail risk. The only consequential one is this one in the same area. So obviously the thunderstorms that are expected today are going to kick up their heels in all modes. So all modes have a 30% risk. All modes have a 5% risk with tornado in that same area. So it's actually the hotbed, I think, today, Saturday, for severe weather activity. CSU's outlook agrees with the tornado assessment, maybe a little broader, actually brings a little bit of a risk down into parts of Kansas and Missouri. Keep an eye on that today. But it's very fickle. Anything that happens here is going to be completely dependent on instability and small little thunderstorms that find this little miracle place to grow. As an example, we had a tornado warning in the Ozarks yesterday in Douglas County. And it just came out of nowhere. A little tiny cell, but it found just the right mixture of low-level instability and some spin. I don't think it verified. But anyway, just kind of give you an example. That's the kind of tornado stuff that would be expected like in these areas here. And the hail risk is higher, and I expected them to maybe have a higher percentage of wind risk on that, but they have not gone back, checked the past data, and any confidence that that would be the case. Then we move ahead to the second half of the weekend. Sunday, level 2 and Fargo, Bismarck, so basically northern Minnesota and a good chunk of North Dakota. Still a little bit of remnant stuff hanging on there in Virginia, North Carolina, a small sliver of South Carolina. The tornado threat for Sunday kind of expands eastward and southeastward into Wisconsin, It is still set at about a level 5% level within 25 miles. Hail and wind about equally distributed in that same area. And then, as I've been saying, this kind of progresses to the Great Lakes states as we go through the next couple of days. So on Monday, the Storm Prediction Center has put a level two from northeast parts of Nebraska straight up and covering almost all of Minnesota. And it's probably going to be all three players. But let's see what CSU has to say about that. So, yeah, the tornado risk is actually put up into northern parts of Minnesota on Monday. And it's showing up as a 10% risk. Pretty impressive, actually, but not unexpected. The tornado risk actually shifts northward, and Canada probably gets more tornadoes than you think. It's not talked about as much, but their pattern up there is, closer to the jet stream, and they can get the warm and unstable air up there fairly readily, depending on the pattern. Hail and wind on Monday, not so much. Then I'll just review what happens over the next couple of days. The Storm Prediction Center has not pulled the trigger on any of these. If they did, it would show up here. But so on Tuesday, kind of a broad brush from western Kansas into the Great Lakes states. That's a 15% chance. So any of these 15% chances could be technically converted to something the SPC can get behind. So on Wednesday, we have, again, this large area in the Great Lakes, part of the plains, and also up into New England. And then on Thursday, it shifts a little bit more, Great Lakes states, New England. So, and this might be the kind of situation where we see, Boeing segments, possibly derechos, long-lived wind machines, basically. But that's not a forecast. That's just kind of the trend. And also the probabilities for this time of year strongly support that area getting that type of severe thunderstorm activity. And then on Friday, we have, again, Wisconsin down through Indiana, Ohio, into the Carolinas, and maybe a smattering of other 15% here and there. Supercell composite, last three here through July 3rd. Very high in these areas we just reviewed. They want to take the supercell composite a little more south than I think most of the forecasts are taking it, so we'll see how that plays out. And then it really shifts north July 4th through the 10th into basically Montana and North Dakota. And then the final week, this is actually week 3, so July 11th through the 17th. And this has been a trend now to get these severe weather probabilities moving back into the northwestern U.S., probably a reflection of the fact that there's a little jet stream pattern developing up there, while an upper level ridge on average develops here. So hotter weather returning to the plains, and the supercell probabilities higher in the Pacific Northwest and Montana.